welcome to Attacking Third. It's another late night with the A3 crew. I'm in the host chair tonight, Sandra Herrera, alongside Christine Cupo, McCall Zerboni. We are here to break down all things U.S. Women's National Team versus Jamaica. This is our React and Recap show. Welcome. Before we get started, we just want to thank you all for joining us here on Attacking Third. If you're live on YouTube, watching us there, drop us a note in the chat. Let us know what you think about the game tonight against Jamaica, what you thought about this international window. If you're watching us on Golazo Network, hello, thank you for being here as well. Or if you're listening to us as a podcast, we're just plain happy that you're here. So let's go ahead and dive in. We've got the United States Women's National Team, a 4-0 victory against Jamaica. It is a wild time here in this summer international window. Can't really call it a May window. Can't really call it a June window because we had a game to close out May, game to open up the June window here, kick off summer for the United States. But McCall, I'm going to go with you here because there was a little bit of a twist in the pregame leading up to the United States. So before we get into the starting 11s, what our reactions were to this, part of the lore of this game was that it was going to be held in St. Louis, and there was going to be the extra celebration caveat of Becky Sauerbrunn. They were paying their respects. They were paying honor. They were paying all of the love to the great Becky Sauerbrunn, who had announced her retirement. It is a thing that has been happening, throughout the course of the last couple of years as greats, as legends, former teammates of you yourself. A lot of folks are taking that next step in their lives, or they're retiring and stepping away from the game. But for somebody like Becky Sauerbrunn, she's part of this unique collective in that she accomplished so much with this United States Women's National Team. And not only is she a two-time World Cup champion who was part of that 2015 and 2019 roster, she's also been around. She was also around the program for a very long time. She was also part of that 2011 team that went to a World Cup final back in 2011, was part of Olympic squads as well. She has seen many highs and many lows, celebrating a total of 219 caps on this day in her hometown in St. Louis. And so part of the twist in this was that there was a whole bunch of celebrations all before kickoff even happened. And I was so excited to see like some of these like look-ins and check-ins from legends of the game. And I'm like, we're going to have our own little legend of a game on here. And McCall Zerboni, who's also a former teammate of Becky Sauerbrunn. And I just wanted to ask you, give you the opportunity to say your piece about Becky Sauerbrunn.
Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to my A3 team because y'all predicted the score 4-0 today and you got it spot on. So shout. And then my second shout out, obviously, Becky Sauerbrunn. I mean, first of all, what I love about her is she really had to earn it. She didn't come out the gates with a big name like some of these players like Mal Pugh-Swanson or even like a Gurma at an earlier, younger age. She really had to grind her way into becoming a very prolific center back and become our mainstay in that back line. She put in her time. She was a youngster at one point and she just kept growing and getting better. But yeah, we were actually at the broadcasting seminar together this last winter and we were both still kind of fairly undecided on retiring or not. And I think the feelings that we shared and the ups and downs about the weight of, this huge choice really. And it just having that conversation with her helped us both arrive on our conclusion. And it can be a very scary decision, but we're both thriving and happy with where we're at now. And that's just a perfect example. Like not only her like leading me on the national team when I was her teammate, but also the conversations that she has and the way that she did at the end of it all, even when, it didn't necessarily, she didn't have to put anything into it, but just a small conversation like that, how much it helped me. And just a perfect example of what kind of leader and person and professional and human she is.
Cupo, I want to go to you with this because I remember when she announced her retirement, kind of did like a breaking segment. We were here with some extra time for all of our other folks who like to join us on our live sessions with Attacking Third. And we definitely were feeling in the moment about that because that was also the other thing. It's like when players announce their retirement, you don't know what that moment is actually going to look like, to McCall's point. Like, is it going to be just sort of, an old Irish exit, someone going to hit us with just like soft goodbye and fade away, Is there going to be some pomp and circumstances? You can never nail the timing of those kinds of things. And I think that's
tour and does all the games, you know, that's not her.
Yes,
She's just like, I
it's
did
just
my thing. Thanks. Don't give me attention. I'm out of here.
you never know. So I kind of feel like this tonight was a little bit of that sweet spot. It was like kind of delayed. This is not something that happened for her immediately following her announcement of retirement. It took some time. They just one night only special for Becky Sauerbrunn in her hometown with all of this. So I mean, just for you, as we kind of react to this kind of already a little while ago, what was it like kind of walking through and tuning into this segment?
I have to say, I think that they really did this properly for her. I think it was very well thought through. It was a nice homecoming. It gave the fans a bit of time to digest the fact that, like, yeah, she's making a segue into media and she's not going to be on pitch anymore. I think that it also is like a little bit of comfort to fans that have grown up seeing Becky forever playing on the field as this stalwart of that back line for this US women's side, that, she's always going to be not too far. But the turnout for her tonight was absolutely beautiful. Like, it's so nice to see all the signs and the youth, even because you're like, okay, there's so many of us that like lived through, if not parallel to Becky, just like in age, watching her progress, to see that there still is this respect and reverence for her, even from the little kids who, got to see her at her greatest peak, if not arguably, she's always been wonderful. But to see her go out on such a high and on her own terms is always remarkable.
And it's a sign of the time too, because St. Louis, Missouri, how many people turned up tonight? That place was packed. And it's just stating how amazingly popular women's soccer is here in America right now. And no matter which city it's in, it will get populated with the games. And we're still on the way up. We're still going to add more teams in the league. We're still going to have more cities that get squads, and we're growing. And it's just such a fun point of to see Becky kind of allude into that because of her hometown, where she came from. And those people are thirsty for a team too that will eventually come.
All I hear is like hashtag McCall for the loot.
We gotta have a hometown special for McCall, in my opinion. We'll see. Stay tuned. Maybe we'll get it in the mix. Okay, I love this. This was incredible energy. What a way to start the show. But there was a game that took place eventually, and it was quite a scoreline. Breaking news, spoiler alert, you're just tapping in 4-0 over Jamaica. Let's get into it. Let's start with reactions for starting 11, because as Cupo and I alluded to in our preview episode, if you didn't tap in there, Cupo correctly said you can never really predict anything with this Emma Hayes era, and you can't. Like, that's one of the things that we try to pride ourselves on. If we do actually nail an Emma Hayes starting lineup, we definitely
Which, by
want to
the
show love.
way, you have done, Sandra. I have not nailed the
Approximately
dismount.
once.
I've done my best, okay?
Yeah, approximately one time, and I'm hanging on to it. But the starting 11 rolled out as follows: Fallon Tullis-Joyce with another start in goal. Naomi Girma, Tara McKeown, Lily Johannes, Ellie Sentnor, Alyssa Thompson, Claire Hutton, Sam Coffey, Katerina Macario, Emily Fox, and Carrie Abello to get the official starts tonight. We did see a couple of holdovers, Cupo. We said in the preview episode, like, will we see some in match 2? And we did, although there were 6 total changes from the lineup against China. And so definitely rotation played a role in this one. And of course, in true Emma Hayes fashion, we got another first-time debut in Carrie Abello. McCall, what were some of your first impressions of this lineup when you saw it drop?
I mean, we can see what Emma is doing, right? Today, they were obviously building out of a 3-back, and that was different than when we played last game. So now we're trying that 3-back. One of the outside backs gets super high, almost like a wing back, leave 3 protection in the back. And it's just the personnel on this roster for a reason that she chose. These are the tournament options that will need the variety of the player attributes, allowing her to play several different formations with varying pieces, whom will thrive in a specific game plan, whether it's opponent pending or pending where you're at in group play in a tournament, or how we're going to play during overtime, you name it. Emma will have it on lock because of what she's doing right now to prepare for those moments.
Like, let's keep it a buck, though. Abello, her profile, even on paper, has played the 6, has played the 8, can play left back. That is a quintessential Emma Hayes player resume. She loves that. And I understand it, right? You never know when you're going to need to, in in dangerous waters, you need to switch somebody around where you don't have a substitute that you could play with, but you know you can count on somebody that is that versatile, especially as she starts to dig into the depth for that back line. I think this is brilliant. It's nice to see Abello get her first cap, get that debut. I thought a little bit about seeing her win with the pride in the final and seeing her whole family with the Abello big heads in the stadium. And the next morning, flying back home, what caught my eye was somebody had Abello's huge head carrying it through the security line.
Carry
And
on.
I realized that it's her family. And I was like, you know what? Like, how can you not root for her? Like, you
True.
have to. Come
They
on.
left their bag and took that instead. They're like,
Right?
"Screw
Like
that."
this massive Carrie Abello head. I love it. I love it so much.
I love that too. Some other fun facts about the starting lineup. There were 6 NWSL players in tonight's starting lineup. The Spirit, the Royals of Pride, Thorns, Current, Angel City, all represented throughout the sprinkling of this starting 11. And I gotta say, even though there was 6 changes from the lineup against China versus tonight against Jamaica, I was hopeful that maybe some of the familiarity that were the holdovers into this roster, that maybe, just maybe, this USWNT team would find the breakthrough a little bit earlier than they did against China. Because let's break down this first half. I'm happy that they did do that. They got the breakthrough roughly 10 minutes or in like 10 fewer minutes or so than they did against China. It was really around the half hour mark that they finally got the breakthrough against what was a bit of a higher line from presented by China. And then in this one, we've got, is it too early to call her the great Ali Sentnor in this one? Because she opens up the goal scoring. She's one of 2 players to go ahead and record braces tonight. But she gets the opening goal in the 19th minute of this match. And while she got 2 of them, this first goal in particular was a real chef's kiss. I mean, talking spectacular, because we get to see what I think the U.S. national team and Emma Hayes might have expected a little bit from China. They thought with these 2 opponents, they were going to be faced with some lower to mid blocks. China didn't necessarily come out that way to start the game or even to finish it. But Jamaica definitely was who we thought they were. So as far as maybe the buildup to this 19th minute, the opening goal coming here, McCall, was there anything in there that was giving you any sort of illusion of like, it's got to be better, it's got to be quicker, or is it too disjointed, or did it just feel like they're being patient, this is fine? What were some of your early opening 20-minute takes?
I was surprised to see Jamaica playing as high as a back line as they did, knowing the threats and the risks that the US have. And did they not watch the China game? So, no, I mean, you can see our spine, right? And that's usually our foundation in our squad. And it's right up the center of the pitch. It's Gurma, Coffee, Macario. And then you start building or playing with things in and around those areas. And once you have that solidified, then that's when people feel, okay, my role in accordance to our spine, right? And so our players are really starting to get familiar with each other. I thought there was some really quick exchanges, some great understanding in the attacking third of each other, knowing when to play 1 touch, when to play 2 touch, when to do a 3rd man run, because I know the next person is going to play me. And I feel like Emma's putting together really good training sessions, because we look very fluid for how much interchange that we have with this roster right now, because she's calling in some new faces every time, but everybody understands the narrative. And that's really inspiring for me.
How about you, Cupo? I know like Ali Sentnor ended up getting the breakthrough on this goal, but who was kind of maybe trying to establish tempo or kind of take control over the game early for you in this one?
Yeah, I think I automatically have to look to Coffee now, who's got some additional asks of her. We've got Coffee to go, if you will. I don't
No,
know, like
we went
let her
from
on the dribble.
There it is.
espresso to hot coffee. No,
There
dark
it is.
roast
Yeah.
coffee. She
Dark
was
roast.
six out there today.
Yeah.
Dark roast
My
coffee.
goodness.
It's she's so brilliant and composed on the ball that the fact that we're now seeing her just like carry into dangerous spots and try to look for outlets. And then to your point, McCall, I thought that the passing, especially in the final third, was really clean. They knew where each other were. The movement was smart. Um, Even Abello getting up and just like sending that ball forward early. I was like, okay, that does not look like someone who this is their first cap. Um, very composed. They looked like they trust each other is the other important part. And with all of the changes that we've seen, I think that that's really important because when trust goes between teammates, it's like, oh, you're going to second guess. You're going to take that unnecessary pause. You're going to miss a pass. You're not going to be able to exchange the way that you would have, or you're looking for other options to slide that ball instead of your primaries. And that never works out well. So I think that seeing how well they started out with, obviously, like, what is there to say about Ellie Sentnor? Like, she is so sharp, so clean on the ball. She's so fast. Um, she's an excellent little package with a bow on it. And then you have the other threat on that left flank of Alyssa Thompson, who it's like, give it to her on the go. And she was making those threatening runs down that left flank and cutting in. Swaby cut her off a few times, but when she couldn't, she found other outlets. There wasn't a point where you saw like that ball die and be like, oh, where do we go? How do we move from here? Again, it's okay to be critical and just sort of level set expectation that this is Jamaica, right? Like they are largely more defensive leaning typically, but again, even that needs work. They're not, say, like an England side, or you know what I mean? Like, so this was a perfect game to do some tinkering in my opinion, and see, how does that ball move when you don't have that heavy press threat on you?
Yeah, I remember when we were previewing this, I mentioned that. I was like, well, it's like maybe the challenge will be the US needing to figure out their rotations and establishing a quick, cohesive type of soccer against a Jamaican side that somewhere in the back of their sports brains that they know on paper they're going to go out there and deliver a win. And maybe there's some of that, right? Like in an opening 20 minutes. But I think that the other side of that coin, that's the silver lining in a game like this. Like with 2 goals from Ali Sentnor, they're not just like, 2 goals for one player and wow, what a great night. It's the way some of the goals came about. It was like this first goal where you see this really nice connection, the dime from Johannes, the one touch timing to lay it off for Sentnor by Fox, and then Ali Sentnor having the clinical ability to go ahead and finish that goal in the 19th minute, and even in the second goal in the 28th minute, just kind of really showing off like the presence of mind, which for me is very impressive whenever we're talking about young players specifically, because you almost kind of like, we as analysts sometimes maybe pressure the veterans with that kind of stuff. It's like, you're the experienced player. You should absolutely have that extra layer to your game. Presence of mind, awareness, those should just be things that it's instinctual for you to be reactive. Mm-hmm. And so when we're talking about younger players, to see that part of their game or that side of their game pop out against these opportunities where they have in international windows, I think it's very impressive. So I love that we've seen that already from Alyssa Thompson in a lot of ways, and I love that we're seeing it for Ali Sentnor as well. And I thought for me that was probably the big thing to kind of come out for her specifically in this first half. But there was a lot more that took place in this game, even though folks are looking at
like volleyball. That first goal by Sentnor was like bump, set, spike. Like,
let's go.
You know what I mean? But
let's
again, the touch by Foxy. So it's like youth to experience to youth. Like that's the perfect combination and blend, right? Because there's a lot of players that receive that ball out of the air like Foxy that might take 2 touches or play it down the line instead of sort of setting it to cut back for a first time hit. And then Sentnor, just her ability, that technique to keep it down, to chop on top of the ball, to keep it low. For a youngster, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I love that we got to see that kind of glimpse into some of the performances, especially Sentnor tonight. And there's a whole other half for us to break down. Maybe some other breakout performances a little bit that we want to touch on. I know me and Cupo want to definitely talk a little bit about PTJ, Valentine's choice. We definitely got to talk about the fact she got a second star. We're going to do that. We're going to talk about all this stuff and a whole lot more right after a quick break. All right, we are back, and we have an entire second half of USWNT versus Jamaica to get into. Maybe not so shockingly, we didn't see a ton of changes directly out of this into the second half in this game. I mean, the United States have a 2-0 lead at this point, and maybe for the coaching staff, not a ton on there to say, hey, we got to go out there and correct A, B, or C right away. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe some of the halftime locker room chatter was just get back out there and continue executing. For this second half, when you have a 2-0 lead and it sort of feels like maybe you're on cruise control a little bit, McCall, being in that locker room and on the other side of the things, what is sort of the mentality coming into a half like that? Is it just exactly that? Just keep doing what you're doing?
Well, it's one of two things, right? You're comfortable because you had 87% possession in the first half. But I feel like the midfielders were also very careful on the ball. They took several touches, took their time, were very methodical. Then you get a little talking to at halftime and you say, all right, start pushing the narrative, start pushing the tempo a little bit, take risks. And that's when you kind of see a little bit more giveaways and a little bit more, 50-50 chances happening. But those are both things that we need to train, based on our opponent, based on how the game is going for us. It's nice to see that we can control a game, but it's nice to see that when we go in at halftime, we can come out in a different way. I know a lot of teams that just are not able to adapt, even when they go in at halftime. And when the game isn't going your way, you have to adapt. They didn't need to adapt today, but you need to train adapting because those times will come.
Cupo, I was very curious when I was thinking about, okay, what could we see coming into the second half? Because at this point, the United States haven't given up a single shot on a goal for Jamaica's side of things. And it turns out, again, spoiler alert, if you stood to the end of the game, that ended up remaining true throughout the duration of the 90 minutes. We were excited for the possibility, fingers crossed, that we were going to see Fallon Tullis-Joyce. I thought maybe there was a chance that we could see Claudia Dickey tonight because of the opponent. But you had a very good point in that you were like, let's see back-to-back from Fallon Tullis-Joyce. And not only in net, but with Girma.
Right. And I think that when you're doing this kind of chemistry testing, I think that this time around, like it looked good. Not that she had much to do at all. I mean, she could have had herself a little tea party back there. Nobody would be the wiser. I think it's really just one getting in the flow of talking to your back line, even though they were largely doing not much except contributing to the attack, maybe just clearing balls and recycling things around. But I think that if you look at this as a training exercise, that it helps you understand instinctively your teammates' movements. Who's more likely to stray wide? Who's going to tuck in? How do they actually move? It ends up being like a dance, right? And so Fallon Tullis-Joyce is stepping into this, and she's got to be able to dance in that line too, essentially. I think it's good. I think that when you have this like brief window with friendlies and it's just these two games and then we'll see them back at the end of the month again, I think it's hard because remember, like you still have two keepers that haven't really been tried in this window again, where it's like, do we just let somebody in just to see how they do, or do we move forward with Fallon? This to me is like a key indicator that we do want to see more of Fallon finally, which is great because we were all like shouting from the rooftops prior to her getting called up that, it was damn time. But to see her, and I think also the consistency will start to make her confidence grow. And when you're asking a keeper who is a phenomenal shot stopper like Fallon Tullis-Joyce to refine her footwork, I think that confidence is a huge component to that. It's like if you feel like Emma Hayes has faith in you and you're kind of gelling with the squad, that will help fuel that fire to like, hey, I don't care, get out there with that kickboard like we used to and just like kick at a wall. It's fine. But I think that that's also helpful.
I agree. I gotta say, I love that because now it's 3 games. We could say that there are 3 games that Fallon Tullis-Joyce got to start in, and they were all 3 kind of very different games in their own ways.
Yeah.
That Brazil match
Of her,
specifically.
So that's good. That's key too. If these are the center backs we're going to bring, Germ was on the left today instead of the right. Mickey Young was in there instead of Sonnet. Those are the players that she needs to developing relationships with.
Yeah, I'm very curious. What that will mean kind of moving forward. because Emma Hayes has said that she and the coaching staff, they want to nail down a solid core of players. Maybe not so much that goalkeeper core, but a solid core of roster players that they want to continue with the final 6 months of this year. And because in the build up to 2026, it probably is going to be a little bit more of the continuity of developing that cohesiveness and the chemistry between certain players, because those World Cup qualifiers are next year, literally next year, scheduled for November sometime. So I think I'm curious if nothing else, they know that maybe Fallon Taylor-Joyce is going to be one of those core players moving forward for them. We did eventually get substitutions in this second half, and they did
A lot
come
of them.
just before the hour mark. There was like, okay, let's get cooking here. And not only does Emma Hayes go ahead and make some substitutions in this game, but she brings on Lola Bonta, Lindsay Heaps, and Lynn Biyandolo all just before the hour mark here. Macario Coffee and Johannes come off, and this is the part of the segment where we absolutely talk about Lynn Biyandolo. We started at the top of this episode talking a bit about Sauerbrunn. I think in this regard, we have to take a look at Biyandolo as that veteran striker, as that veteran forward for this national team. Where is that experience going to come from? Where is that leadership going to come from?
We
Who's
call
going to be
this
that
segment
player?
now leg sleeves for everybody.
Yeah.
That's going to be the next giveaway, in my opinion. Whenever they decide to have like a elder millennial light, that
She's
should
like a
be the
superhero. I swear to God. Like, you know how like when you bust your nose and you get like the mask? No, like Lynn's is the leg sleeve. Like
leg
she
sleeve.
pops off with that and it's all over. Like you're just gonna watch her streak by you, score, celebrate in your face, and you're gonna be punching air.
It has changed things. It was incredible. This player subs on, immediately wins a corner, and then the team sets up to take this corner, and she bangs the goal away off the set piece. It delivers that third goal. They're up 3-0 at this point in the game against Jamaica. And I just sat there, not stunned, but I like shook my head in a way where I was just like, of course. Like, of course it's Lynn Biyandolo with just like some of her first touches in the match.
Lynn, first of all, will find a goal. She will find a goal out of nothing. That's one of her just like magical superpowers that come along with her, but also like aerial threat. We also need to talk about the fact that this goal finally came off of a corner and they had failed like 150 different times. Like, I'm sorry, but like as somebody, I love set pieces, mostly because like I used to score goals off of set pieces because I'm a little bit stupid and I'd poke my head in places that it didn't belong, that sane people wouldn't do. But it's shocking to see how poor they were at converting those, given the multitude of opportunities that they had. For me, I'm like, that's the low hanging fruit, especially against a weaker side, is like, eat that, right? This should have been, I know I'm happy to have my 4-0 scoreline, but like, this should have been like a 10-0 blowout.
There was about 5 corners in the first half that went to the back post straight to Germa's head that were perfectly placed balls. She could have headed it herself or headed it back across. I understand that they were going with the back post ball. They were working on it clearly. They still weren't able to execute when they had perfect delivery and many opportunities to practice it. And in tournaments, set pieces are everything. Those are the small details that can win or lose you out of your bracket or in single elimination. Those are like, when you're leading into a tournament, you spend so much time on set pieces. Like, it's almost like annoying as a player. You're like, again, really? But it's because if you research any major tournament in men's or women's side, it's those small details on set pieces that win or lose you a World Cup or an Olympics. It's crazy.
No, it is. I mean, eventually, this game at this point, you're talking about a third goal after the hour mark. I mean, it sort of feels like that's a traditional soccer blowout, and you're like, okay, this is going to be what it is. Maybe there will be some stretches of time here where the group continues to just sort of build that chemistry, make sure they're connecting their passes, getting familiar with each other's movements on and off the ball, and maybe, just maybe, another goal will come, and it does. It comes very late in the game. It's Lynn Biyandolo once again connecting.
But wait, Sandra, that was after Lola Bonta was subbed on, and that ball was art.
This is what I mean, though. To your point, this is what I mean. Where I'm just like, maybe there's after you get that third goal, maybe the concept is just like, let's go out there and have some fun. Let's continue to develop this chemistry, because they came on during that same sub window. And so to see Lowe connect this beautifully threaded ball through for like just a brief second, you could see Biyendolo kind of be like, is that coming to me? And she's like, oh shit, that's coming to me. And she goes and like gets on that ball. So it ends up kind of fizzling out. But it's like those little things where you're just like, these are going to be kind of those second half wins that I'm sure the coaching staff are going to look at and say, what are some things that we still want to see in that next window? Because that's what's going to happen, I think, now that they're saying goodbye to this window. It's done and dusted. They're going to say who's going to be the holdovers from this camp into next camp, and who are going to be the ones that we want to see new once again.
Kind of want to sit on this for a second though too, because we started to have a tangent conversation in the group chat about the difference and the interpolation with the vets and the youth that McCall was talking, where you don't get a ball like that from anyone other than a Lola Bonta. Like, new to this squad, yes, and we can joke around that she's like a baby here, but that's a vet ball. That's a vet ball through. Saw an angle, took it, like Biyendolo, the vet that she is, knew how to get on the end of that. And so I think that some of the interplay there that you benefit with is like, how do you make that leap so you get the youth also playing at that level? Especially what you were pointing to, McCall, with that midfield of like, can we play with that youth? Like, can we get them up to that level for World Cup? Can we get like a Claire Hutton and a Lily and a Coffee together? I just wanted you to riff on that a little bit, McCall, because I know we had thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lowe's vision really shined in these last two games. That's definitely one of her strengths. But also, we all saw how the game changed when Lynn came in. She has this wonderful ability to stretch the game. And it's different than Macario. I'm not saying it's better, but they're both needed. And depending on our opponent or what the game is asking us, for Lynn to have that ability to run in behind, to stretch, to play longer balls, to create some more space in the underbelly because she is running in behind. Now all of a sudden, second balls are falling for our attacking midfielders. Just imagine when Rose comes back, right? So to have both of those variabilities up top is important. But again, it's 2 years away. And so it brings me encouragement for someone like a Claire Hutton, who's not there yet, let's be honest. But in 2 years, imagine she will be. Lily, work on her defending a little bit and her spacing in the midfield. In 2 years, she's my choice. Heaps, in 2 years, she'll be 33 years old. And I'm not saying that is old, but a player who started playing professional when they're 18 years old, skipped college, has been playing high-level football with high demand since they were 18 years old. 33 can be old on your body. Now it's
you can feel old.
That's a good point, man. How many of us still have knees?
So we don't really know where, a Heaps and, a Lynn is going to be in 2 years.
That's part of this, though. That's part of all 2025 specifically, right? I think to try to wrap up this segment before we go into our final one, I think that was something that for me I was looking for as a reporter or an analyst. I mean, we're marking a lot of first time things along the way in 2025. I mean, at this point, Emma Hayes is given 19 debuts for players on this national team in 20 games in 1 year with this national team. And as we close the chapter on this international window,
y'all wish Emma was coaching for the last 30 years. You get a chance. You get a chance.
I was going to tee you up, homegirl. I mean, we're closing the chapter on this window, and we're also marking 1 year of Lily Johannes with this team, because she made her debut with this team a year ago in Minnesota. 1 year with Emma Hayes on the job, because she finally hit that sidelines early June last year in Minnesota. And so now taking these next steps into year 2 of the Emma Hayes era, and it's really playing out exactly like Emma Hayes told us
I love what she's
that
doing.
it was going to.
I love it. The only thing I could say is Claudia Dickey. I know we're trying to build into Fallon. It's very important for us right now. But then just have her go to the 23s and get some.
That's a good shout.
She doesn't need to be sitting on the bench, getting no action. Let her gain some, quality experience at a high level at the U23s. Otherwise, we're going to run into the same problem again.
You know what, McCall?
And that
That's
might
a good
be what comes
shout
out
because
of the
Emma
women.
has credited some of the ways that a couple of key players right now, like Peterson and otherwise, like have been able to slide in because of the youth team experience. That, like they can step up, they got it. Like Patterson. I'm like, okay, my brain just glitched. But
It's late. It's
Patterson,
after dark.
yeah.
Get
I'm like, it's fine. I need more coffee.
No,
Don't
it's all good. We're gonna show
Mm.
them some love. We're gonna make sure that we each talk a little bit about our player of the match. Maybe I'll broaden that and say player of the window. Stick with us. We're gonna be back right after a quick break. All right, this initial summer window for the United States women's national team is officially done and dusted. The next time we will revisit this national team will be towards the end of June when they have friendlies against Ireland. So to close out these two matches, I want to ask you both, and I'll include myself, McCall, any final thoughts on this particular two games during this window? And for this game specifically, who was your player of the match?
I'm here to pump Sam Coffee. The way she was slicing and dicing in that midfield today, she was making deep runs, running well with the ball at her feet, really creating, linking up. She just sets the tempo in there for us. I think she's so valuable. And for me, she's first player on the team sheet right now in that sixth position, holding midfield position. And yeah, I mean, we changed our order at the Starbucks window from triple espresso to hot coffee.
Hey, I love it.
I love what she's doing right now for us, and I only see her getting better and better as well. And just imagine her when that important time comes around. She's just going to be fabulous. I love the way she plays.
Yeah,
How
they
about
better
you,
get her
Cooper?
all the squishmallows she could ever want in this life. She deserves them. Yeah, I love coffee. I'm gonna go with Ali Sentnor this game only because aside from scoring a brace, uh, her movements and just sharpness, she's very smart. You could see the spaces that she runs into, recoveries, moving the ball around. And like she got a little scrap, even with Jamaica, like coming across the side, like she's trying to cut those balls off. She's like, I am here and I am now the enforcer, which quite frankly I wasn't expecting of her today. But I think it's good to see her and highlight her with this squad because I don't know that we always get to see the best of her in NWSL.
I'm absolutely going to co-sign McCall with Sam Coffey. I thought she had not only a spectacular window, but she continued that as one of the holdovers in the starting lineup tonight against Jamaica. This is a player, in my opinion, that already showed how kind of irreplaceable she is a little bit. That's kind of scary, honestly, if you're the coaching staff. But again, that's what these games are for. That's what 2025 is for. The coaching staff has said to make sure that they're developing is continuing in all areas. But Sam Coffey is 100% it. I will also give another nod to a midfielder as a whole over the course of the two games. I love what we're seeing from Lily Johannes. I think we're for folks who are maybe tapping in to the national team as casuals or even as diehards, they're finally getting this opportunity to see this player get games. Prior to this, that maybe only had like a handful of appearances and a number of camps, but at this point, she has been called up to every camp this year, has been a part of every roster, and is getting not only games, but getting starts. And so we are seeing some of the very special things that make Lily Johannes this player to kind of hype up. And rightfully so, Emma Hayes and the coaching staff are making sure that everybody pumps the brakes a little bit to make sure that she is just scratching the surface of her talent, and they are just now actually unlocking some things for her. But it is really cool to see international window by international window how much this player is developing at the pace that she is developing. So I got a special shout for her too. The other side of that coin, I'm curious from the both of you. Cooper, I'll go to you with this one first. Who do you want to see more from out of this window? I can't hear you, Kupo, and I want to hear your thoughts. You have such good thoughts, and I always want to make sure we hear you.
Back, yeah. Am I good?
You're back, there you are. You made it.
Sorry,
Who do
it's
you want to see
funny.
more
I
from?
think my laptop revolts at times. So
It's okay.
I'm very whelmed, not overwhelmed or underwhelmed by Olivia Moultrie. Her appearances, just she's there, if that makes sense. And I'm not being overly negative. I'm being
Again, another U23 player to
a
me.
little bit critical, right? Like I can understand. And when you think about some of the players that are currently with the U23s, just trying to either working through fitness and things like that, like Big Fish, who I would love to see, how she could interplay with the squad. Corbett Albert's down there, what that means with the broader conversation. But I just feel like, to me, and I know that she has a few years under her belt with NWSL, she just doesn't look ready, polished enough for the US badge for me. Um, I don't know if more appearances for her is going to do it, or if we legitimately just need her to get thrown back into the U23s and like let her fight for her spot. You know what I mean? Like we've seen it happen. Some players need to have that like
Yeah.
be
It
turned
makes a
and move
difference.
forward. Yeah, for sure. Um, I think I really liked a Bello slotting in. I think I'd like to see more of her for sure. McKeown, like what, 6 caps, 5 starts now for the US, which is kind of wild. That's come very fast. But she's also proven that she's very deserving. She's very smart in that back line. Not a lot of asks of her today. I think I did try to in my fantasy starting 11 slot Sam's in there, and I don't know if she's getting so few minutes based on things that we're not privy to seeing outwardly in training for the US, and that very likely could be the case. We saw a little bit of her the other day against China. Um, I think that she's so talented as a defender. That's like damn, man, like if
Yeah,
she's getting omitted, she's just not level setting where Emma wants her to be yet.
I think that's fair. How about you, McCall? Who do you want to see more from, or who do you want to maybe see get some time with U23s?
I'm with you, Sandra. I was really impressed with Johannes, but I'm trying to see Coffee holding Johannes linking as the 8 and Sentnor on top of them. And I want to see Lynn Biyandolo start a game and Sentnor a little bit underneath her and just let them two work with their speed, with their combinations, with their individual brilliance to beat people one-on-one, also to make runs in behind. I think Sentnor's a lot better, more centrally. Like her goals came from when she was tucking in and Foxy was kind of running the outside channel. So she knew to tuck in, and those were her goals came. So I like her better down the center of the pitch, and I want to see that combination.
Man, you got my wheels turning, McCall. I'm like, not only would I love to see it, I want to see it and I need to see it. Let's go. Yeah, I kind of already showed some love for who I thought had some good stuff out of this window. I'm a big fan of the revamped U23, so I'm definitely here to maybe see some players get back into the mix and maybe just sort of work their way. You know, the whole concept of like iron sharpens iron, that's going to be a thing for the U23s as well. So I'm with Olivia Moultrie, maybe getting some time there again. Maybe Claire Hutton as well. I just don't know if it's maybe too early, right? Like Emma Hayes has said this constantly, that it's not right now for some players. It'll probably be later. And I think Claire Hutton is such a special talent and is really in a unique position in that similarly, she's also a teenage player that is like has weeks for club in the Kansas City where she's like lights out, right? Maybe the international side of her game needs to develop a little bit. And maybe that comes with the U23s. But I'm also looking ahead to like, there's players maybe out of this camp that we won't see in next camp because there are players that we're going to see swapped back in. Are we going to see Croy Bethune come back in for these international friendlies at the end of the month against Ireland? Hal Hirschfeld, another Spirit player who was seeing time as part of that midfield core. Is she going to be at a certain level of fitness to make a return to play for this national team as well? So, I mean, look, if nothing else, we know that when these players step back into the NWSL side of things, they are going to hit the ground running in a season that's already 10 weeks deep. So when they return back at the end of June, we're already talking about probably midway point of the season. They are going to be fired up. So I'm really looking forward to this next international window. Anyone else you guys maybe want to see come into those friendlies against Ireland?
I'm trying to
You can
think.
always co-sign and say I'm right too. That's fine too.
I just had a thought that like our depth is gnarly. Like think about
it really is.
It's crazy.
Like we're talking about the players right now that are already difficult to choose from, and we have major world-class injured players that are going to be back within the next year.
I legitimately just started trying to do like math, trying to guess like at what point, which camp will we start to see who where to to anticipate who's going to be going into World Cup, because you're going to have to progressively start paring that back. You're going to have to choose a goalkeeper like nowish
yesterday,
because you're going to want to like you got to get that locked in. And I feel like when we start to see those differentiators, I think that the competitive fires are going to be stoked even for those just like swirling around camp. We have champagne problems as far as I'm concerned when you think about
it's delightful. I'm not gonna lie, it's delightful. Even I could see the smiles, and when we're talking and we get together and we analyze and stuff, we're lighting up along the way. We are absolutely here for it. What a window! The United States are back on a win streak. They bounced back from that loss against Brazil. That kind of snapped things a little bit. So now they are 2 for 2 out of this window, moving forward into the summer. Let's see if they can remain undefeated during the summer window. So they've got Ireland next, and on the horizon will be Canada. The Americans will take on the Republic of Ireland June 26th and the 29th in Commerce City, Colorado, and Cincinnati, Ohio, respectively. Then US will go off and square up against Canada. They are the USWNT's most frequent rival, and they're going to go ahead and square up in the nation's capital, DC. They're going to go ahead and cap off more of the summer madness on July 6th. Make sure you tune back in to All Things Attacking Third. We are going to be back live on Thursday, June 5th at 11 a.m. ET on YouTube. This is always a delight whenever we're doing these late night. McCall Zerboni, Christine Cupo, Sandra Herrera for our producer, Mark Seaman. Thank you all so much for joining us, and make sure you tune back in. Thanks for being here.